Good afternoon, everyone. It's Cyber Ready back with another video here. So today we're going to be talking about the big elephant in the room, the AWS outage. So I'm sure a lot of people have seen this at this point. Amazon Web Service, all their servers had some kind of issue. Started very early this morning and kind of resolved itself a little bit this afternoon. There's some several months before this was all kind of resolved, honestly, or even weeks. I've been involved in a ransomware ordeal where, unfortunately, the client, they were not doing good cybersecurity hygiene. They had about 30 computers. They weren't super reliant on the computers, but it was still 2 to 3 weeks of downtime of everything. A lot of these companies are using voice over IP now. So not only are you unable to use a computer, but you can't make phone calls, you can't really notify your customers. So unless if you got a hotspot, that's about the only way at that point. Having people focus on it being a cyber attack it's not entirely wrong. I think it's very important to kind of analyze what happened today. Think about of all the applications or whatever you're trying to use today that just would not work, right? And you can bet your money on that those are being hosted on AWS. So right now I just feel like there's a big monopoly on AWS, and something like cloud infrastructure, we're very reliant on. So some of these services that went down today included, of course, Snapchat, Canvas, which a lot of schools and colleges use that around here. I'm not in school and done with my yapping. Now we kind of go back to the affected AWS services. We can see these are all the things that were affected on the East Coast. This morning, me and my manager were talking, and there were like 70 services. We are the company that I work for. We do we do have Microsoft, so Microsoft was impacted in this as well. So certain functions of our teams chats was kind of like messing up a little. Honestly, nothing too crazy. I wasn't super impacted by the US East issue. So yeah, if you're bored, you can look and read into this kind of what all happened, but we already know, technical stuff, technical issues. I already read enough, so I'm okay on this. All right, and then just kind of going back over the outage report. So these are the applications that were down today. Amazon, Apple Music, Blink, Boost, Chime, Coinbase, Duolingo, FanDuel, GoDaddy, which that's a huge one too. That does like a domino effect with the internet. A lot of websites are hosted and maintained through GoDaddy. You can get domains and certifications, SSL certs through there. McDonald's app, Lyft, Fitness, How, there's your Office and Microsoft services. So Outlook had an issue. PlayStation Network had an issue, right? Because all of these cloud servers are not really in some random cloud, right? They're hosted at an AWS database, and these companies like PlayStation or Sony, I guess you could say, are paying, AWS a lot of money to host those servers. Now, why are a lot of these servers basically on AWS, right? So AWS, despite what you saw today, is known as one of the most reliable server hosting options, right? Of course, whenever a technical crazy issue happens like today, it kind of changes the game a little bit, but these servers are designed for severe weather. So if there was a tornado or the power went out, they actually do have generators and other things that would automatically basically pick up the servers if the main power is gone. They actually have like water turbines as well, in case maybe the generator doesn't kick on in time. There's always a way to keep them constantly powered. Now, whenever a technical issue happens, or I guess you could say a cyber attack, not today, but In the future, it could be one. Those backup processes, or I guess those recovery processes with the generators and things like that, aren't really helpful in those situations because it's a technical flaw. Okay, and then just kind of going back into AWS at scale, but this would be a whole factory with just AWS servers being hosted here, right? So these places are very large. And here I'll show you a backup image. So then we'd have something like this, right? A diesel generator. And this would of course sit in between a bunch of batteries because generators they don't just fire on most of the time. I'm a big fan of self-hosting, and especially like today, right? Because all my servers and AI models and stuff like that, they weren't impacted at all during this. Even my website, because I self-host everything here. So it definitely has its pros and cons. I definitely don't have a diesel generator or backup generator here for my database, or definitely check in and see everything that was impacted today. It's pretty crazy. It's kind of scary to know that one cloud company like AWS, right? Because they do a lot of things outside of just AWS and cloud hosting, but it's very scary to think that, one company that does this type of job had this big of an impact on the internet, right? Because whenever you're looking at, real life cybercrime and targeting things and, making exploits and things like that, hackers usually want to go over or compromise something that's going to impact, a big service or a wide variety of customers. This would be it. So I can understand why some people maybe speculated that it's cybercrime at first, but kind of with the way things happen, you would understand, going deep into cybersecurity, that there's no way that a company of this scale could be compromised and come back up this quickly. So that was my biggest thing why I knew it wasn't a cyber attack necessarily, but I plan on making more of these like kind of short form content videos, just going over my thoughts more in the future. So let me know.
Can we do it?